I know you've been in big games before, but a Melbourne Derby grand final week, is there something a bit special about this one?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I think there's no better way to end the league. And obviously, being a Melbourne boy, I know what these games mean. And yeah, look, really excited. And like I said, there's no better way to end the season than a Melbourne Derby in a grand final.
As you said, you're a Melbourne boy. You know how much feeling can be in these games. You've brought the feeling to several of these games in the past. Do you feel like this will be the most fiery pitched battle of a derby that's ever been staged?
Well, I assume so for what's up for grabs. But at the end of the day, a derby's a derby. As much as it's another football game, there's always a bit more on the line. It's a bit more special. So yeah, look, I think it'll be a great contest. Two of the best teams in the league this year going head to head for a piece of silver.
Is this how special is this? You came home to City having started, having been at heart. I imagine this was the game goal. How special is it to have your chance to grab it?
Yeah, definitely. This was the goal at the start of the season. So yeah, look, we set out goals from the start in pre-season where we want to be at the end of the year, and obviously that was fight for the Champions League spot first and foremost, and then as a club and as a team within those four walls was to be here on the final day, and we've managed to do that, and we've got one more hurdle in front of us.
How prepared are your guys to possibly have a big victory crowd here? Usually their numbers are pretty high. How prepared are you guys to probably have some booing and some whistling and some sort of noise from victory fans?
Look, I don't think it's going to be any surprises for a lot of our players. A lot of our boys have experienced overseas football. So yeah, look, I know we're going to have a lot of numbers as well. So I'm expecting the atmosphere to be unbelievable. Obviously in this stadium as well. Perfect football stadium. So yeah, really excited for it.
This is a club that's had a lot of success in recent years. What do you put that down to?
I think the culture at the club, the standards that are set from top to bottom, and the playing group as well. The expectation for playing for Melbourne City is always obviously fighting for trophies and silverware and playing for the top spot. So, we've had that group this year. From day one of pre-season, the boys have worked hard. We've all pushed each other, and yeah, I think that's the main ingredient we've had.
Got a favourite derby memory?
I'd say the first ever derby. We played here. It was a packed out stadium, and we ended up getting the win. So, yeah, I think I'll put that one just because it was the first ever derby.
As mentioned, it's a sellout. How big is this, not just for you guys, but for the A-Leagues and football in Australia? Just that shot in the arm.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's massive. I don't think a lot of people expected it to be in Amy Park, but look, we're excited. It's perfect for Australian football. A derby in a grand final, you don't rarely get anywhere. So yeah, look, I think it's going to be great atmosphere. Like I said before, two good teams going head to head, and I think it'll be a great game.
You talk about the standards that you've put in place in pre-season. What were some of them that have helped you absorb all the injuries you've had and emerge on the final day of the campaign?
Yeah, look, I think the biggest take we took from last year was being consistent, and that's just not week-to-week basis. That's every day, and I think that's why we didn't get so much success last year. I think the inconsistency, but this playing group from day one of pre-season, and even the young boys, obviously Vidi blooded them in straight from day one, and prepare them really if they're needed, and that's what they showed this year as well, and that's gone for any player that's had to come in. You can speak about German Ferreira, didn't get much game time at the start, but as soon as he's come in, it looks like he's played every game. So I think it's just been about everyone prepared well throughout the year, and I think the biggest plus for us this season was our pre-season to give us that base.
Because the leadership group that you've got there at City, yourself, Lex, Andy Naboot, Jimmy Jego, you're all veterans, but you're also all Melbourne boys as well. What would that mean for you as a leadership group to bring a championship to the club?
Yeah, like I said, it's always a bit more special when you can win a trophy in your home city. So yeah, look, those boys have been great. Obviously, a lot of experience there. And obviously they've helped run the change room and drive our standards on the pitch.
One season now with the armband, what have you learnt most about this group and their character?
Yeah, look, they've made my job real easy, and obviously the boys we just spoke about, they play their part, so I'm not going to take all the credit, that's for sure. But like I said, this playing group, the way they work every day, even the young boys, we're all in it together at the end of the day, and that's one thing we said day one of pre-season is, if you have a successful season, it's always special. So they've always worked hard, and like I said, they've made my job real easy.
You guys have played some tightly contested matches. What's going to be the key to actually break this thing down and getting the win?
Yeah, look, as much as it's another game, it's a finals game. I think it'll come down to moments, but we're just going to focus on ourselves. Do what we've done. We want to dominate the game, and that's what we've tried to do every game. And obviously, keep a clean sheet. That's, I think, our defensive record's been great, but that starts from the front, and obviously hit the back of the net. That's the end goal.
You've played in a bunch of big games over the years. You mocked Leo Messi in a World Cup. How do you share that wisdom with some of the players that haven't been on this stage before?
Yeah, look, I think it's a bit difficult. I think you need to experience these type of games to get that feeling. But, this week we've kept it a normal week. Even the younger boys, just keeping them relaxed. I'd rather take the pressure on my own shoulders than make them feel anything. But look, they've been great. We're just continuing as a normal week at training, and it's once you get out on the pitch, it's more so about just blocking out the things you can't control and just focus on playing football.
Last question, guys.
Aziz, what's the craziest atmospheres you've played in? Give us some of your best of overseas ridiculousness in these kind of games.
Yeah, I'd say Turkey was probably the most. Obviously, when I was in Bursaspor, the derbies against Beşiktaş were massive, real hatred there. So I've experienced a lot of that stuff, and obviously with the Socceroos, I'd say Honduras was one that sticks out a lot away. But yeah, look, those are all experiences that I can hopefully share with the boys, and help as much as I can this week.